Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. Now, this video is about my story. The first picture on the screen should be a picture of somebody that has a sign that they're pointing to, that they're gesturing toward, that says, "Monkeys allowed," or something to this effect. And the rest are just pictures of kind of, promiscuous women that might be described as sexy back then. That the pictures from the video are 8 years old or 9 years old, so females have changed their look a bit since then, and these images have been covertly edited to make it harder for me to make my point, and to kind of fit the modern theme of things. They try to make it seem like, when they change the songs on the radio, they remaster them, right? Master Mason and remastering, and Mast Ear, right? The mast of the pirate ship, the colonial ship, what have you. They try to make it seem like the breeding changes they've made as they control reproduction more than ever are something that's been there the whole time or something. So as you look at these pictures, you see these females are hot. They're often showing their body. They're depicted as, enjoying themselves. They're probably in sororities. They're probably all feminists. They're all liberals. They're on the dating site Tinder. Back when females were a little bit more feminine, before the gender neutral stuff really exploded in the last, maybe 6 years or so, but it really, really exploded. Back in like 2015, 16, 17, it wasn't that bad yet, but it really exploded, 17, 18, 19, 20, what have you. Okay, and it's gotten really, really bad. After the pandemic, they really stepped it up, and it was used to kind of throw people off while they make these changes. There's a lot of racist gay people abuse other gay people, and so on and so forth, who don't want this to be said. And there's a lot of straight and gay people who do want this to be said. And I'm on the side of the people who are right. It's pretty straightforward. While at the same time, I'm only on God's side. You get what I'm saying? So as I'm being shunned by attractive females, and I made that video to complain about how I was shunned by attractive females, and I still am, and that video was 8 years old, 9 years old or so. Maybe more than that, maybe 10 years old. I was being teased by them, right? The word Set, right, is a play on words for tease, and Set is the god of evil, the Egyptian counterpart of Zeus, and Baal, who's the main enemy of God in the Bible, basically. And he's a deity of rape by deception and stealing and controlling reproduction with his magic wand and so on and so forth. Okay, you see the various staffs and scepters and wands, if you will, that the Egyptian deities are depicted with, especially in the later dynasties. In the early dynasties, right, historians tended to record it as the earlier followers of the Egyptian Horus deity, for example. The Egyptian deities were warrior followers, and later on, as people from outside came in, as people who didn't deserve to be in charge came in, they started doing magic tricks like they do in Freemasonry and so on and so forth. Okay, you see the Mickey Mouse throwing the Masonic kind of L sign, right? The right angle, okay? You see a lot of Harry Potter stuff. I have a picture somewhere of a Freemason standing on the head of a black person, looking like a gay Greco-Roman person. That's not a coincidence, okay? They tried to replace the Royal African Falcon Martial Art Order, and they ended up just making a fool of themselves, and I'm sure you all get that by now. Okay. When you see these females, well, many of them are the daughters of Freemasonry. They're the daughters of the occult, right? The occultists control the political movements, right? Rich occultists, rich propagandists, people deal in psychology and chemistry and use, confuse, and abuse mentalities. They took control over dating like 100% these days. And I haven't gone on a date in like 7 years because they're so much into drastic sexual control. That's a huge part of it. Think about Satanism. Think about dominatrix, right? Compare the word dominatrix to the word matrix. And it has the word tricks in it. And what is a trick? It's a female who's dumb enough to go along with the system, whether they're pimped by a corporate guy, a politician, or a street-walking pimp or whatever. They're dumb enough to get played like a trick, played like a bitch, played like a dumbass hoe trick of a bitch, right? And the person playing them often tries to avoid being insulted. Quite often the hooker has a negative stigma on her, hook ear, right? And the pimp has a positive connotation or something to some degree, but really a pimp is low down, dirty, no good, what have you. No offense to anyone, just has to be said. If you pimps out there have children, I hope you don't want them to be pimps too. I honestly hope that. Okay. And I hope that you take this to heart and do what's right while there's still time. So, when you see these females, put yourself in my shoes, right? The son of 2 doctors, one a humanitarian who's a brain surgeon. Been a brain surgeon at that point for probably about 36 years, but at this point like 42, 45 years, something like that. Okay, whose family's being cheated by the government, the CIA, and them pressing my family, trying to keep them from looking too good, trying to keep me from looking too good, trying to limit their power. So a bunch of sexual power crazed, lunatics, who make Weinstein and Epstein seem like saints or something, can exert power with their pecking orders, their picking orders, their rape by deception orders, rape by misdirection, coercion, deception, getting females to do things they otherwise wouldn't do, tricking them into doing what they otherwise wouldn't do. The reason why they're called a trick-ass bitch, and broad is the way to destruction, the prostitute, the harlot in the Bible. It all connects together. Any questions, put in the comments. Don't get it twisted, put in the comments. And I'll answer it to the best of my ability. But for those who are going to have comments suppressed, the prostitute in the Bible symbolizes not just a spirit or a nation, Babylon, what have you. It symbolizes, the idea of a female who betrays the Royal African Falcon Martial Art Order, right? Ham begot Cush, Cush begot Nimrod, Nimrod founded Babylon. Amos 9:7, are you not the same as the Cushites unto me, O children of Israel? Which ones, right? At this point, none of them. None of the people who identify as Jews are in the Royal African Falcon Martial Art Order, and no one should reproduce no matter what, black, Jewish, or otherwise. But the connection there is that the females of old who reproduced with pagan scum and gave you the masses of idiots of Gog and Magog, what have you, okay, are dumb, trick-ass, fair-weather bitches, punk-ass bitches, pushovers. The reason why they're called chickens, scared, pussy. The reason why it's called a snatch. And the word catch starts with the word cat. They're catching the pussy, the cat, the kitty, the pussy, and they're snatching the bitch up. And they're doing it by force historically. Then over time, as they kept the waves of colonialism going, they started using more psychology than forcible rape, but there's still forcible rape and human trafficking. It's organized. You think there's Serenos, for example, in California, there's like hundreds of thousands of them as some estimates go. You think there's hundreds of thousands of these Hispanic gang members, but they're not hundreds of thousands of millions of people collaborating for sexual control? Think about it. You think the white man is outnumbered by other criminal organizations, or that his criminal organizations are the largest? It is a massive racket where there's compartmentalization, yes, but there's central committees. It's like a corporate partnership or something, but it's social clubs behind the scenes that quite often are, parts of corporations. And you get these smug females like the Bible chastises again and again, right? The women of Jerusalem are complacent, they're smug, they're walking with fancy jewelry, shaking their hips. That's what the Bible describes, Isaiah. You have these smug people who shun the most handsome, most righteous person ever possible because they've been tricked into thinking it's smart. Now look at their faces carefully. To some degree, they're confused. Some look like they're real pieces of work. And quite often they have this kind of, it's not a big deal weight about them, right? They're smug. They don't really understand the pain of the righteous person as they multiply the unfaithful, the wicked, those with insensitive and callous hearts, those who are ultra selfish. Think about it. In the society that we live in, rapists who use scientific calculation control sexual behavior. And as a result, the idea that Christ is superimposed on Christ coming back, which is me, the top martial artist ever possible, martial is marital scrambled, Christ is the bridegroom. The word Bethlehem is the word belt in it, belt he ham. Christ is the word hit scrambled into it. Cute and cut. Handsome hand, some hand of God, the warrior hand, the lead hand in sparring, lead hand in striking, the weapon hand, the sword hand. The sword of Scripture. I am shunned by females, and it's not just Tinder. If you were to ride along with me and you'd see attractive women, you'd know that they would reject me if I tried to approach them. You'd know that I'm targeted because there's fumes and poisons and people, have certain patterns of harassment that you just simply didn't see before. And you know that every female who's attractive that you come across would reject me. And some would act shady as gang stalkers, organized stalkers for the state, which is reinforcing the state of mind of trick-ass bitches and lowly dogs who take advantage of them. There's no other way to look at it. If you don't know I'm right, man, you must be fucking crazy, just crazy. You need to run, not walk, to rally, to obey God through me, because psychiatric institutions are taking advantage of people like more than anyone else, right? Psychiatric, right? The therapist, right? Therapist is a play on words for the rapist. It's, if you break it into two words, you get the first word the, and the second word rapist. You think that's a coincidence? When Zeus is a deity of rape by deception, like first and foremost, the rape of Europa, Ganymede, on and on and on and on. Hera was raped by Zeus, and he marries her. And she's his sister. Just shameless rapes. Rape by deception. Changes form and rapes him into a swan, into an eagle, into a bull. On and on and on. The wolf is a symbol of the Roman people, and the howling of the wolf, the Greco-Roman people. In the cartoon, the wolf howling at Jessica Rabbit or something. It's a rape by deception. The word state is a play on words for Set, which goes back to, Zeus. Set is Zeus's Egyptian counterpart, and Zeus comes from, rape cults in Africa that dominated Europe, then spread across Europe, okay, and became the dominant cultures of Europe. But just like with Cain and Abel, Cain wandered the world, but Abel was killed where he was. He came to peace where he was, is another way to look at it. He rested in peace where he was. And that was Africa. Of Ra-Ka. Ra meaning God, with the sum symbolizes God, and Ka meaning spirit. And also Ca, how you see the spirit of God in the top martial arts possible, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning, the end, the first and last, the bread of life, the way, the truth, and the life, the light, the gate, the good shepherd, what have you. So imagine all those years of going on Tinder. I went to Tinder like almost every day for 4 years, as I went on other sites as well, and I looked in person as well, and drove around and went to different cities and kept an eye out, and I talked to some women at times and they rejected me, and so on and so forth. And a bunch of gays tried to take advantage, a bunch of females trying to get me to lower my standard and date females I don't want to date. They tried to take advantage. People catfish me, what have you. Why these people all over the world, not just these females in this video is not about bashing them, but they're a small sampling of the thousands of pictures that I took of females off the internet to show proof later on in life that were edited, but there's still a lot of proof there that I was mocked by females who were not raised to value true righteousness and the maturity and handsomeness that comes with being the most righteous person, whose inner beauty forged my outer beauty through martial arts strikes and loving God. And you just saw the love in me. You saw the divine, martial, refined skin quality, the love. It was better skin quality than islanders, than Egyptians, than, anyone you've seen anywhere. Just this very potent, very beautiful, very divine skin quality that complemented my perfect face and lips and nose. My nose has been described as perfect. Teeth is perfect. And they messed them up a little bit with technology, story for another day. My eyes were intense with the look of God. My eyes were like a fire. An intense, righteous fire. They reflected the beauty of my heart and soul. And they edited my pictures. And so I can't with my looks declare the glory of God to that degree, but I can with my description. It's even interesting how in the word description you have the word D-E-S, right? D's, right? There's all kinds of things. You can replace the E with an A, alphabet, sad, crip, shun, description, sad, crip, shun. And they, to some degree I'm crippled these days. And of course I grew up hanging out with members of the infamous, of an infamous faction of the infamous Crip organization. The word scripture is Crip root scramble. Okay? And we think about in society, who try to reason with you people the most, okay? During my lifetime, for example, one of them was like Nipsey Hussle. Though he wasn't perfect, He tried to reason with people when other people wouldn't, when they just simply politicked and spit propaganda. He went the distance, right? When you think about popular culture, again, gangs are, full of bad people, don't get me wrong. But you think about popular culture, the people who try to reason with the most were like these black gang members, these Crips. We look at other gangs, white, Hispanic, Islander, they tend to have codes of like silence. They tend to be from cults and prison gangs, and they weren't as likely to try to talk about these social issues. And when it comes to the Crips and the Bloods, right, who are the pronounced Bloods? It was Suge Knight, it was Mac 10. There's some guys you probably haven't heard of, Mitchie Slick, okay, this guy named Ski 64. There's other dudes out there, Gucci Man, Lil Wayne eventually claimed to be a Blood, some other dudes, right? But none of those guys are social issue inclined. It's a laughable, I think Lil Wayne endorsed Donald Trump. I mean, laughable, right? And I'm not picking sides. I don't if you're a Blood or you're a Crip, that doesn't matter to me. It's the content of your character. But there's a reason why the people who control the cultures in the game made it that way, okay? And that has to do with that wordplay that they wanted to be consistent with. And of course, the Crips came before the Bloods, and the Bloods were a divisive force, but so were the Crips in their own way. And it's a mess to try to pinpoint it, right? There is no individual set or neighborhood or state that you can really say, hey, those guys, went beyond the other states in terms of, when numbers are considered and everything else. But it's part of the game to understand the message. So think of the other guys who identified as Crips in life, because I'm not a gang member, not a Crip. Okay, think of them as actors in a Masonic play, and it's a lot easier to understand that actors in an occult play, they're playing a role. So Nipsey Hussle played that role, but to some degree he felt that way, right? And he talked about some of these issues. And so did Snoop Dogg a little bit, right? He did a little something, okay? And there's some other guys out there, and there's a lot of OGs out there in the streets that, really went the distance to try to explain. Look, think about Tookie, right? Where's the Blood counterpart for Tookie? It's not there. Because again, not because Bloods don't care. I'm sure they care just as much as Crips. It's because that's the game that they're playing. Description, Crip shun, okay? Delusion, you shun lead, scrambled, right? Where lead, you shun lead, and you shun lead, right? Sounds, L-E-A-D can be said as L-E-D, right? Sounds applied, phonetics, Phoenician Canaanite system, Harmony, harm is a word for Horus, which is the idea of the Son of God in his true form. There's a bunch of pagan garbage that, tries to argue that their fake forms of Horus are this, that, and everything, but universal pinpoint and moral precision, focus, moral intensity, given the top martial arts order its rightful place, Royal African Falcon martial art order. That is the true form of Horus. Any form that is cheating me is not a real form. Why? Because they're cheating. That's not justice. Horus is the deity of justice, righteousness, true love, right? The Avenger, the Skywalker, the Golden Horse, right? These are noble things. And people who are noble, they don't wave a magic wand and pretend they're equal or greater than the Royal African Falcon martial art order. And the horse is a solar deity. It means he puts things front and center, right? The way is the truth, and to declare the truth from the rooftops, and to put a lamp on his stand, and so on and so forth. So these other guys are liars. While I am the Son of God. There's a reason why there's a sun halo over Horus and a sun halo over the saints in the popular culture and Jesus, because all these people who are depicting these things, and they're basically all wrong in their depictions, mind you. I've never seen a depiction that I can say, hey, that did a good job. Of anyone they try to depict as holy, of any Horus depiction, okay, the closest thing to it is the Narmer palette in its true form. It's been altered. Certainly the pictures on the internet have been altered. And so as we look at this thing, you see, why do people have a sexy body in the first place? It goes back to martial arts. They didn't play basketball a long time ago. They didn't play football. They did hand-to-hand combat to get in shape. And so these people took these females. They took slaves. They took slaves in Rome and Greece and in the transatlantic slave trade to America, and on and on and on. And that's how these black genes got around, where you have these nice, breasts and butt and so on and so forth, and lips and da-da-da. It's not very hard to see who's related to black people if you start looking in terms of Ethiopians and Nigerians and what black features are. Okay? It's pretty straightforward. So these kind of dominant martial art genes, right? Martial is marital, Christ is the bridegroom, is marrying, like, in a sense, the human race with no LGBT, implications, right? Because it's a heterosexual order, transcendent. But his spirit is marrying the human race, and he's spreading the yeast of God with those martial art genes, right? David versus Goliath, hand-to-hand combat is what it's supposed to be. He came to bring a sword, not a slingshot. He's spreading those martial art genes A sharp, double-edged sword, surgical striking, not a broadsword of a knight, through the human race. But when they refuse to give me my rightful place, they're just thieves, right? Thou shalt not steal. Outside the gates are the thieves and the idolaters and the sexually immoral, especially people from generations of sexually immoral people. So the human race is done after my flesh dies. That's the divine verdict. Arguably the most important divine verdict that has ever been given and that ever possibly will be given. After me, there will be no more divine verdicts. There will just be people being sealed in hell. And you can take a good look at the pictures on the screen, okay, and know for sure that the arrogance of attractive women and the people that brought them forth, their parents, their father, their mother, what have you, really they're attractive females that never grew up, that's what brought about the end. The word seal is a play on words for elas, e like effeminate, e masculine, evil, evil, El meaning Lord. El is also a satanic Canaanite deity called El, El, and also mentally El. Again, the word seal has the word last with one S scrambled into it. And last. The first and the last. The prostitute and the beast, instead of a noble woman with the righteous Son of God. And the dragon is empowering them instead of God Almighty. So the world transforms. Trance-like state, out of touch with reality. Transform, delusion, deal you shun, illusion. Ill you shun. Transforms into a place where no one could possibly connect to God. It's like a burning lake of fire. When you die, your soul actually goes to the essence of that idea. After your life has weighed your deeds and determined how much you should suffer forever, and you face judgment. And you face judgment, and then you're marshaled to that lake of fire. Marshal and marshaling to order to arrange. Thank you.